Welcome to the Zweig Letter Podcasts, putting architectural, engineering, planning, and environmental consulting guru Mark Zweig and his team of experts straight talk in your ear. Mark has more than 30 years of experience helping AEP and environmental firms thrive. And these podcasts deliver his invaluable management, industry, client, and HR advice directly to you, free of charge. The Zweig Letter and the Zweig Letter Podcasts let you develop professionally, wherever you are.
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. Our goal is to bring you some of the best and brightest minds that the AEC industry has to offer. Today, I am pleased to welcome Derek Reid to the show. Derek is a mechanical engineer with Callidus Engineering in London, Ontario, as well as Kingston, Ontario, right?
Yes.
And so I have to get that right. We've never had somebody from our sister country in the north on the show, so please bear with me. And anyone that is from Canada that is listening to this podcast, which I imagine it will be quite a few once Derek shares this with all of his friends and coworkers and colleagues and everyone else that loves him, please don't kill me. I know about Tim Hortons. I know a little bit about Canada, but I'm sure I'll learn a little bit more today. But no, it's really great, Derek, to have you on the show. Derek is part of a team of really bright engineers up in Canada that are doing some amazing things in their part of the country. I know we've had a couple of your team members come to our TPA event in Baltimore last month, and we had a great time hanging out with them. And then so you and Jennifer are here this time around, and so it's great to have a good portion of your leadership come and spend some time with us for a couple of days. This is kind of a unique podcast because normally I'm in a studio, or I'm kind of doing this in a closed door area, but what we've done for those of you in the listening audience today is we've kind of created a makeshift studio. And if you could only see the table that we're sitting at and the table that the camera is Facebook living us from, you'd understand that you have to learn to make do with what you have.
That's right? Yes.
So, and that's just kind of the ingenuity of the day. But anyway, without further ado, Derek, it is great to have you on the show. I really appreciate you allowing us to press you into service on short notice.
Right.
But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first got to say I'm very happy to be here in Chicago at the Principals Academy.
Amen.
It's our second day. It's been a great course so far.
Okay.
And really enjoying kind of the counsel and consulting services that Zweig provides to engineering firms. So about myself, so I'm in the mechanical electrical engineering industry in Canada. Callidus Engineering, we've been around for about 12 years now.
Okay.
We're the merger of two small kind of basement engineering firms, and we've grown significantly since. We've more than tripled in the last 10 years or so. So we're in the mid 30s for staff size. And as you said, we're based in London, Ontario, but we're just on the cusp of opening our second office in Kingston, Ontario, which is the other side of Toronto.
Okay.
Which is part of our long-term vision is national presence. So this is the first step towards that.
Wow. And with the idea of national presence, it's not that you're not already serving clients around the whole country.
Correct.
You just want to have a footprint in all those areas.
That's right. Yeah. Currently, we're licensed across the country in almost all the provinces and territories. We do work from Newfoundland on the East Coast to British Columbia on the West Coast.
Okay.
So we do have projects across the country, but it's the presence that's the long-term goal.
Oh, okay, cool. So how do you guys? I mean, in terms of size-wise, I mean, is your peer competition a lot of firms that are similar in size, or are there a couple of much larger firms that you compete with for work in your area?
Yeah, locally there aren't any very large firms. There's a few established mid-sized firms like ours that have been around for decades, but not too much bigger than ours. In the Toronto area, that's where you get into the massive companies with hundreds of employees or thousands of employees.
Right.
Same with Ottawa. And we're, in our short-term regional growth, we looked at expanding into the Toronto area, but the size of Kingston, similar geographic location to Toronto as London is, just on the other side. It's just a better fit for us.
Okay.
Market size, and really the culture of the market is a better fit for Callidus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and now I had a chance to look at your site, which I actually was recently redone not too long ago.
That's right.
And I must say, from someone that gets into mobile marketing and branding, your site is definitely mobile responsive, which is a good
great.
thing,
I'm
right?
glad to hear that.
Yeah. And it's actually, it's kind of like a whole reboot. And it's interesting because it seems like your company has actually had a lot of growth in the recent past with the addition of several new principals, including yourself, principal owners, and and with the new website, and you guys are kind of moving in an upward trajectory.
Yeah, that's right. So back in 2012, we started intentional strategic planning, and through that, we've gone through a full ownership transition process, where we've currently at that time we had 2 principals. And knew that it's a very long process, ownership transition up to 10 years to do the planning and then to do the buyout. And so we started that process a few years ago. It was just last year that 5 of us younger folks started buying in, and are now owners. But along with that strategic planning, we focused on things like developing project management. We now have a project management manual that all of our PMs do, or that they use. We send all of our PMs to boot camps, where they learn the skills that a project manager in the AEC industry needs to have. We've done marketing, business development. We've established an organization chart. As we've been growing, it used to be all of the production staff just reported to one person, but as you grow, that's not manageable. So we've had to break up into departments and hire managers, and we've got a director of engineering now who's responsible for operations in general. So there's been a lot of growth and a lot of changes in the last, I'd say, 5 years.
Well, that's got to be exciting. I mean, when you look at firms, and I always tell people it's one of the reasons why I got into the design industry, and it's one of the most ethical industries in the world in terms of the way people operate. Everybody operates above board. I mean, you guys are doing things and building things that are hugely important to society in general. But I mean, you guys do MEP work, life safety systems.
That's right.
Fire protection. So you get into the type of work that we don't sometimes always see with our eyes, but we feel it. We are around it, and sometimes it saves our lives, and we don't even realize it.
That's right. Yeah, it's all behind the scenes. It's above the ceiling or behind the walls.
Right.
Actually, as we were, one of the processes we did in the last 5 years for our strategic planning is mission, vision, values, right? Every company needs to go through that at some point and refresh it every few years. And we kind of boiled down, why do we do what we do? And it's we make buildings work, right? And it's like you said, it's everything behind the scenes. It's in the walls, in the ceiling. You don't realize it's not there, it's not working until you need it.
Exactly. Yeah, nobody knows. Like, and I live in Arkansas. When it gets hot and the HVAC goes out, it's a problem.
That's
so,
right.
you got real issues.
Yeah,
so.
Same thing with your life safety systems, right?
Absolutely.
You don't think much of it until the building's burning down.
Exactly.
And you've got no sprinklers or alarms.
Right. Yeah. Where's the fire suppression system?
Exactly.
I thought it was supposed to work. So, well, man, that's really awesome. So tell me a little bit, because it sounds like you guys have kind of tapped into a nerve with regard to the growth of your company, especially when it comes to like bringing new people on board with the type of professional development that you're doing. How has that impacted and kind of changed the thought process of the people working there at Callidus?
Yeah, so one really great thing that's developed over the years is we have a very unique culture. We're friends. We work together, but we're friends. We're actually just one big family. And through that, the culture that we've established, it's very open, warm, receptive. We have a lot of fun. We eat a lot of food while we work too. And
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no. And so through that, in our hiring practices, we're now to the point where we are hiring for culture as well, not just skill set.
Right.
But it's difficult right now. For example, we've been looking for an experienced electrical engineer for over a year, and are having a lot of troubles. We're looking to recruiters for help. We're looking at the universities. We're posting our job postings on national websites, trying to find someone who's a good fit, and it's been very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But the some of the hires that we've had recently have been some really excellent hires, both straight out of school and people who have 5 or 10 years experience.
Yeah.
So there is a good a good market out there for hiring. It's just there's some difficult times as well.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I know we had a chance to talk about that yesterday during one of our sessions, but it's an issue anywhere. I don't care whether you're in Canada, whether you're in the United States. Recruiting great people is tough.
Right.
It's a very tough market, but I always say that firms that really think intentionally about how they're going to reach these new recruits and also how they're going to develop the staff that they currently have, because obviously word gets out. And I'm going to actually do a presentation later on today when I talk about one of the biggest things that we've seen in the design industry is that word of mouth and referrals is one of the biggest way that firms get new people.
Yeah.
And so I would just encourage you to continue to stoke the flames and the fires of all those current employees and continue to just give them all of the information that they can handle, and it allows them to become better as individuals, but then collectively you benefit from it. And on top of all that, if people like where they work and they like the people they work with, they're going to tell other people.
Yeah, exactly. That's really, we do what we do because we want retention.
Right.
We have to keep our great staff. We invest a lot into them, but at the same time, we all want to have fun. We want to enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah.
We do through the year. We do a number of potlucks this summer. Every month we're doing potlucks.
Okay.
Barbecues. We've got Nerf guns in the office. Everyone's got a Nerf gun. We're shooting Nerf darts at each other.
Sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah. And our staff they socialize outside of the office as well.
Yeah.
So someone gets their license, or someone finishes a course at school, we go out, we celebrate. We have a drink, and it's a very warm environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it was there have been some studies done recently about the this next generation of employees that are coming out of school now, and some of us like to call them the millennials. Do you have millennials in Canada?
We definitely have
I know
millennials.
I'm being funny. They're everywhere, but the bottom line is that one of the things that's really big is that millennials look to be involved in organizations where it's more of a family gathering, if you will,
for sure.
and that there's real involvement, both in and outside of the office.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys have kind of captured the essence of that and are moving forward with it.
I'd say it started unintentionally until we realized we've got this great thing, and now we're guarding it. We're building into it. We want to protect it.
So I mean, everybody listening on the podcast, I mean, so keys to success in engineering and architectural firms: Nerf guns, some food in the office, some outdoor activities, and some maybe a bowling league or something like that, and you're well on your way.
Flexible working hours.
Flexible working hours.
Yeah,
that's
really
also
appreciate
huge.
That.
Yeah. So tell me now, when you look up and so if for people that are listening to this podcast, when you think of where Toronto is, Toronto sits just due north of Detroit. Northeast. Northeast of Detroit.
Kind of think of it across the lake from Cleveland.
Right. Okay. So something like that. Right. Exactly.
Buffalo as well.
Yeah. And so and then London, Ontario is due west of Toronto.
Yeah. Kind of if you were to draw a line between Toronto and Detroit, London would be about in the middle.
In the middle. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Kingston is on the other side.
Right.
Yeah,
So Kingston's about an hour and a half from Syracuse, New York.
Okay. All right. Good.
On the top end of Lake Ontario.
Okay. Well, there you go, folks. And just so you know, if you didn't know, and I knew this, but I was reminded last night that Lake Michigan is actually the only Great Lake that's fully in the United States of America. All the other Great Lakes share a border with Canada.
Correct.
And also have parts of them in Canada as well.
That's right.
And so I think, and also Lake Huron isn't Huron, or one of the lakes is totally in Canada?
No, so Lake Huron borders. There's a large bay that comes off Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, and that's all in Canada.
Okay, yeah, all right. So, well, this is certainly not a geography lesson, but the idea here is that we certainly want to, kind of talk about and highlight what some of our clients are doing, and just what successful firms and what success looks like in the design industry. I think a lot of times, people like yourself and others that are out there doing great work every day don't really get heralded as often in terms of just the things that you do, right? Because it is such an important process and job, and sometimes we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
But I think, and that's one of the reasons why we do this podcast, is it's important for yourself and other engineers and architects and landscape architects and planners and construction managers, and I mean, you name it. Everybody in that group collectively does such an important job. And so we like to take time on the podcast here on the Zweig Letter Podcast to really talk about that and,
Sure.
and just say thank you first of all, but secondly to find out what makes people tick. So I think that's really important. So so what do you think so far of the TPA event that we've had here in Chicago?
High quality. And what really stands out is the authenticity of the presenters.
Okay.
Right. Everything is top notch in terms of content, but it's delivered in a way that's very approachable and relatable. Right.
Okay.
It's not just textbook.
Yeah.
And it's not just dry corporate experiences. Right. And you're what I really like about your presenters is they've been there, they've done what they're talking about.
Right.
And they speak from experience.
Yeah. And I don't think we've referred to any one business book at all throughout this whole
that's right.
session.
Yeah.
So.
No, there's some slideshows for the presentation.
Right.
But
Right.
people they go off track. They're telling stories.
Yeah.
It makes it very easy to wrap our heads around
and relate to it. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's important. So, well, good. I'll have to have you report back and tell me how you like the second day. So that's kind of where we are right now. So what's the future for Callidus? Where are you guys headed in the next, say, 2 to 5 years?
2 to 5 years. So the regional expansion growth that we're doing right now, this is very new for us. We've put a lot of effort into planning, and we're executing.
Yeah.
We're doing business development in the area. We've got our space leased. We've got our name on Google. Everything's there, and
Right.
I'm moving there in a couple weeks.
And you're speaking specifically of Kingston.
Kingston,
Yeah,
that's
okay,
right.
Okay.
And our goal is, in the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully we're opening a third office, and then every few years after that, continued
Keep
growth.
going.
And assuming we're doing it well, we're not dropping the ball anywhere. As we're doing our ownership transition, we've got a lot of new young owners,
Right.
five new owners under 40,
Right.
and everyone plans to be here long term. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of growth in the next 20 years
Yeah, that's
as we look
awesome.
to our future.
Well, and that's funny that you say that. Everybody plans to be there for a long time, and again, your focus is going to be different than some other people. And you and I and your colleague spoke yesterday a little bit about the changing dynamics and from a talent acquisition standpoint
That's
of
right.
finding young people. And I said, and I've said before on this podcast that I think we're going to see a lot of gig economy like opportunities for people working in the design industry in the near future. And I'm just wondering how that's going to fit into the model that you guys are setting up, and if you feel like you'll be able to in some way, shape, or form incorporate that type of workforce that may not necessarily be there to be with you for the next 15 to 20 years, but when they are with you, whether it's on a project basis or whether it's for a couple of years, they do a great job.
That's
because
right.
you set them up for success.
Yeah, I think it's certainly going to complicate things, especially the way Callidus does things. We want to hire people long term.
Yeah.
We want to build them into the family, build up their skill set, and make them as productive as possible, so they're happy what they're doing, but also so we're profitable and we're excelling and being a success as well as a company. And so the concept of the gig economy and kind of the Uber approach, or you log on, you
Right.
buy your engineer for 6 months
Yeah.
and then you let him go.
Yeah.
I think the mindset of our culture and our economy in general is set for that. We're preparing for that, and it's going to happen. And I think it's up to engineering firms to be agile and adapt to that,
Yeah.
and turn it into what can be a success, rather than resist it and get left behind. But I think it's definitely going to be a challenge at first.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of different ways that you can leverage that, especially if you can continue reusing the same resource project to project. If it's
Right.
a hospital project and they've got medical gas experience or whatever it is, you can use them for that one project. You let them go to another engineer for the next 6 months, and you bring them in for the next one again.
Okay.
And so you're able to draw in from the past experience, the familiarity with your company standards and your specific policies and procedures, but you're still taking advantage of kind of or I guess you're able to be more reactive to the ebbs and flows of the engineering industry, where
Right.
sometimes you're very busy with projects, and sometimes it's a bit slower.
Yeah. Well, I think, especially with you guys, I think the biggest thing is figuring out a way to export that culture
Right.
and that mindset to that individual that may just be in for 6 months on a project.
Yeah.
And all they're thinking about is getting that project done and maybe moving on to something else, because
That's
they
right.
wanted to spend some time in the north part of the country before they go somewhere else. So it is going to be interesting. And it's one of those things where I feel like, if we don't grab it now and figure out a successful way to implement it, that it will be a mess. And I don't know if you remember Uber. When Uber first started, every car was immaculate, really clean. The drivers were friendly, and it's kind of changed a little bit. And this is not a show about Uber by any stretch of imagination, but you can kind of see when a good idea doesn't necessarily end up the way you intended it to.
Right.
So, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's going to happen. It's more a matter of time. And being ready for it. Yeah,
absolutely. So what would you tell somebody, I'm a young man or a young woman, about to graduate out of school up in Canada, and I'm looking to start my career with an MEP firm. What would you say to these what would be your advice to them? Not so much in terms of coming to work with you. You'd love that, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
But if they're good. But what would be your advice overall? Take yourself back to when you were coming out of school. What would you have wanted somebody to tell you then?
Yeah. So the traits that we look for and kind of prize the most in new hires is ability to communicate well.
Okay.
So they're asking the right questions. They're admitting when they don't understand. We're flabbergasted sometimes when students are afraid to, or new grads are afraid to admit they don't understand something. We've been in the industry for decades. We don't understand things.
Right.
And sometimes they pretend like they do understand when it's obvious they don't. And ambition is key. We want people who aren't just going to stand still. They don't just want to sit at their desk and be a CAD monkey all day.
Right.
We want people who have ambitions. So when we're asking them, where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? They might not know exactly what the specifics are, but they've got the general concept of, I want to be further along than I am now.
Right.
Continuing education, learning new things. When we talk to people like that, we see those as the rising stars.
Okay.
Right. The people who are always willing to learn more, apply themselves more, step up, take responsibility. But communication is key. The industry that we're in is based on communication.
Yeah.
And a lot of projects sink when either the drawings or specifications don't communicate the scope well, or project managers or people in client meetings, they don't communicate well.
Yeah.
So if you can't communicate, it's the wrong industry for you.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's one of the biggest challenges that we see in the design spaces are those soft skills.
Right.
That sometimes don't always translate really well, and when they don't, it can be problematic. It's like the people that can't really shake your hand properly, don't look you in the eye,
right.
And it just the basic stuff. And some of us got that early on in life, and some didn't. And so, and I'm even encouraging firms to figure out ways to do soft skills training on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's a great
to
idea.
fine tune their current staff, and even offer it for the interns and others that are coming in to kind of walk them through it. So like even when you say, hey, you may not come and work here at Callidus, but we want you to be more prepared to get that job that you want or so desire when you get out of school. And I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like I always say, and it's it's an overused phrase, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that's important. I think
I agree with that.
And so but well, listen, we could go on, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to allow us to dissect you and what's going on with you, and we're really excited about the move that you're about to make to Kingston, and what I think I'd like to do is maybe check in with you in about 6 months and get a report back, and so we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, that's right.
With Derek, and see how things are going in Kingston, and you and your family, and have you adjusted and all that good stuff. Do you have family in that area?
No, all our family's in the London area.
Okay,
so we're moving. We're really leaving our
You're
comfort
really
zone
leaving
with
your
this.
comfort zone. I hear you. So.
And I really appreciate you having me on. This is a real honor. It's great to be here in Chicago and do this course. But I've been listening to the podcast probably for half a year.
Okay.
And really enjoy the interviews you do, Randy, with others, and it's just there's a lot of insight.
Okay, good.
So
good.
I really appreciate it. It's great to do this.
Awesome. And I hope somebody got some insight from this conversation today. So what I want to do before we close out, we're doing something a little different here now. With our interview series, we generally, when we interview people, we want to try to go a little deeper for our audience to learn a little bit about who the real person is that we're talking to, and in this case with Derek Reid. Why don't we end with this? Just a couple of simple questions that we'd like to learn something about you. What was the last book that you read?
Oh, I do a lot of reading. Three. So the last nonfiction that I finished was what is it? To Sell is Human, Daniel Pink.
Okay, it's a good book.
I just closed the book on Saturday. This fiction, Tom Clancy book, Command Authority.
Okay.
And right now I'm reading a nonfiction. It's like a marriage and how to be a strong man kind of a thing. And author's Dr. James Dobson, and I'm trying to remember. It's like I can't remember what it is, but it's something about being a man in a marriage and honoring your wife, making it work, right?
Yeah. Trust me,
don't be a deadbeat dad kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of us married men could use that advice at all times, and I actually like Dr. Dobson, so that's kind of cool. Where did you go on your last vacation?
Vacation. Well, my wife's here with me in Chicago on this. We've got someone watching our 4 kids back home. So we're extending this trip to Chicago until Sunday. So another 3 days to wait here. Last real vacation we went on was last summer. We spent 2 weeks in Holland, where my family is from, and then and we spent a bit of time in Paris as well.
Awesome, nice. That was very nice. That sounds good. And so, if you could binge watch one TV series, old or new, what would it be?
Binge watch. Oh well, I'm a geek and I like sci-fi. I'd probably rewatch Battlestar Galactica. I watched that years ago.
Oh, the old school Battlestar
Galactica. I love the storyline and
with like Dirk Benedict and
that's right.
That's you're taking me back now. So we're kind of not we're like in the same age range, but that was I love that, and I used to love Buck Rogers.
Oh really?
Yeah. So
and I was a Star Trek fan. Like I really love Star Trek: The Next Generation.
When that came on Netflix, what do you think about the new reboot of the series?
Of
the movies,
like Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Oh yeah, with Chris Pine.
Yeah,
I think they're well done.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah, I think so
enjoyed
too.
them.
I think so too. The last one was really good. So, I'm a big techie guy, and I love science fiction in general. So there's all kinds of good stuff coming out.
It's good sometimes, just to watch the screen, turn your brain off. And,
exactly. And I'm actually looking forward. I don't know. I was a history major, and I'm looking forward to seeing this Dunkirk movie that's comes out this weekend. I want to see it in IMAX. I want to see it in full 3D. I want to see
I've seen the trailer for that.
It looks pretty intense, and Chris Nolan is a great director.
He's done some great movies.
It should be pretty interesting. So, well, listen, Derek, thank you so much for taking time this morning to be with us. I know I've taken you away from your breakfast, but there's still some time for you to do that.
Some bacon left.
There's still some bacon left. That's been the running joke here all week as far as having bacon. We have bacon at the TPA. So if you want to come to a TPA event, and if you're listening to this before October, we are having a TPA event in San Diego, California in October. And so we'd love to have you come join us. Find out, you can visit zweiggroup.com and find out more information about the upcoming TPA event. We do 4 a year, and so it's there's a lot that goes into it, and certainly we pour our hearts into the actual presentation itself. So it takes a lot out of you, but it's a chance for us to really share what we've learned and seen and gleaned from so many peer firms, and then just share it with each other, so that you guys can become better at what you do. So it certainly is an honor to be able to do that. So
that's great. Excellent.
But thank you so much for being here. Folks, I want to encourage you today to get a free subscription of Civil plus Structural Engineer magazine. And to sweeten the pot, I'm throwing in a couple of issues of the Zweig Letter too. Do you get the Zweig Letter?
Yeah, we do.
You do? Okay, good. That's
Every
good.
week we're reading it.
So now we have a new program now where everybody in the office can get the Zweig Letter for like pennies, practically. And I'll tell you about it afterwards.
I don't know about that.
For those of you listening, if you do want to get the Zweig Letter, we're signing up firms that have 200 and 300 and 400 people, where everybody gets a copy of the Zweig Letter each week digitally.
Right to their email.
Right to your email. And the only thing that's required is that you give up your email address for each of your employees. And there's a small fee for the electronic subscription for the company. It's a licensing fee. Outside of that, everybody has it. So it's no longer you getting one copy and then passing it around to all your partners. Everybody gets it in their inbox at the same time. You can all read the great articles from Richard Massey and Mark Zweig's weekly article, and Chad Kleinen's and Jamie Claire Kaiser, and all of the directors and other consultants at Zweig Group that are doing amazing things, and just hear from them on a weekly basis. So I'll make sure I get you guys set up so everybody at Callidus is getting the Zweig
Sounds
Letter.
good. All right,
yeah, we'll
excellent.
definitely do that. But for those of you listening, please just visit freetzl.zweiggroup.com. Leave us your email address, and we will take care of the rest. Everything will be delivered to you electronically. In addition, if your firm is looking to hire great talent, please join our mailing list for AEC Workforce. Just text the word "hire faster" to 66866, and that will get you on the list where you will learn more about this upcoming job board for the design and construction industry. And I do apologize in advance. I'm not sure if that texting will work in Canada, but we'll have to look into that and see. Maybe as we gain some new clients in Canada, we'll have to expand up there. As a reminder, all Zweig Group media programs like this one are available in both podcast and in some instances video format, free for download on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube, just to name a few places. A link to all of this information is including contact information for Derek will be in our show notes. And we'd love it if you go to iTunes or wherever you tune into this show and give us a 5-star rating and share this link with a friend. Remember, sharing is caring. I'm Randy Wilburn, and you've been listening to Zweig Group Media, part of Zweig Group. Remember, we exist to make you more successful. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to this Zweig Letter Podcast. We hope that you can apply the Zweig team's no-holds-barred advice to your daily professional life. For a free 6-week subscription to the Zweig Letter, please visit freetzl.zweiggroup.com to gain more wisdom and inspiration, in addition to information about leadership, finance, HR, and marketing your firm. Subscribe today.